Dodgers at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Radio. Coverage begins at a special time of 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, with baseball tonight, Sunday night countdown.
Welcome back. This is the last event.
Well, there is lots of joy in winning here in Oregon. Doris Lemon-Goulet with a sub 9-minute performance. Sophie O'Sullivan, Aaliyah McCormick, their parents and girlfriends and boyfriends, and there's Savannah Sutherland of Canada and Michigan, setting the collegiate record in the 400-meter hurdles. We have one more field event left to show you, and Dan's got it, the women's triple jump.
All right, let's put a bow on this women's triple jump. This is Winnie B., the junior from Texas A&M. This is her 6th round jump. She led this competition from start to finish, and here she is taking her swan song jump. She comes down the runway. She's already got the competition wrapped up, and she would bounce one out just over 45 feet, a half an inch. That would be better than her first round jump, but she will come away with the victory today. As you see them being escorted, the San Jose State Shoestrand will be second, Auger Dwall from Oklahoma third. But I'll tell you, somebody who's not on this panel is Skyland Townsend, the freshman from Georgia. She would finish 6th and score 3 points for the Georgia Bulldogs. And Coach Carroll will say every point matters.
Well, it certainly did today. 22-point lead going into the final event, and Georgia has a team in this 4x400 relay. As we'll take a look at the records, collegiate record held by Arkansas. Only the Soviet Union, the United States, and East Germany have run faster than that collegiate record run last year by the Arkansas Razorbacks, and they're also the collegiate leaders this year in this event. There is the lineup for Georgia. They will start in lane 7. Dejanay Oakley, who was second in the Open 400, will start it off, and the 400-meter champion and Olympic gold medalist in the 4x400 from last year, Aaliyah Butler, will anchor for the Dogs.
And sticks there, the freshman from Oklahoma over the 400-meter hurdles, Michelle Smith. She will run that second leg, and Sydney Harris in there. There you see Texas A&M, Cameron Dixon, Jazz Montgomery. Busy weekend for those two, as we saw in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, 4x1, and now in the 4x4 as well.
Southern California also in this 4x400 final. South Carolina is a scratch out of this race, largely because I think Jamisha Ford couldn't go. A little bit of a problem after she crossed the finish line victorious in the 200 meters.
For USC there, that first leg is going to be Yemi Mary John for the Lady Trojans. The junior, also a Paris Olympian. They'll go Jasani Carter, Takai Sensi, and then Madison White, who just had a phenomenal meet here at these championships, will anchor for the Lady Trojans.
So lane 5 is open. South Carolina scratching. Inside, UCLA, Miami, Iowa, then Duke, an open lane, then Arkansas, then Georgia, USC, and Texas A&M on the outside. 3 turns staggered. These leadoff runners will stay in their lanes all the way. When they hand off, the outgoing winner will stay in their lane through the full turn and then break for the pole on the backstretch.
Well, Arkansas just continues to load up with 400-meter runners. Sonaria Butler goes for Arkansas. She'll hand to Kayla Davis, the junior. Interesting, though, that lane 5, when that's empty, boy, that just opens up all kinds of space on that back straight. There is Dejanay Oakley running extremely well for the Bulldogs.
Georgia can really just hammer the entire field of teams by winning this 4x400 relay. They hand off first, followed by USC. USC going out very slowly. Jasani Carter not really moving it at all. For Georgia, that is Michelle Smith, who scored for the Dogs in the 400-meter hurdles. Arkansas, that is Kayla Davis. Duke is now into third place. That is Lauren Tolbert on second leg duty.
Tolbert fresh off that 800 just a bit ago.
And now USC's Jasani Carter gets things going. She went out very, very slowly, but is finishing strong for the women of Troy, pushing up into fourth place and challenging for third. But it's going to be Georgia who will pass first, followed by Duke, then Arkansas, and then USC. For Georgia, that is Sydney Harris. For Duke, Aaliyah Garazzo. For Arkansas, Sanu Jalo. And for USC, Takia Sensi.
And I have to apologize. I said Michelle Smith was second in the 400-meter hurdles, but Kayla Garrett from Texas was second. Michelle Smith from Georgia was third.
Still very close with Georgia in the lead. Now Arkansas into second ahead of Duke, challenging for the lead. Sanu Jalo running a great leg for the Razorbacks, puts her team into the lead. They are the leaders in the country this year amongst collegians. Arkansas passes first, followed closely by Georgia, Duke, and USC.
So Rosie Effiong goes for the Razorbacks, followed closely by Aaliyah Butler. And you know the Georgia Bulldogs, they just want to put this thing away in style. And a win in the 4x400 meters would leave no doubt.
A great rivalry and a great one-on-one. Rosie Effiong and Aaliyah Butler. And here comes Butler making that move with about 125 meters to go. She swings wide, and she's just turning over faster than Rosie Effiong. Aaliyah Butler and Georgia putting a stamp on it with a win in the final event. The first time that Georgia has won the 4x400 relay, and they will be scoring over 70 points to just run away with the team title. 48-8 anchor for Aaliyah Butler.
And that'll be the fastest time in the country this year.
It's 49-2 for Rosie Effiong of Arkansas. No slouch, but she just could not hold off the 400-meter champion, Aaliyah Butler, and the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, there was no faltering by Georgia this entire day. Here's the final exchange. Arkansas got the stick first.
And maybe one of the most successful runners that the University of Arkansas has ever had in Rosie Effiong. And she's done so much for the program. But I tell you, in the 400 meters, you don't shift gears very often unless you have just next level talent and ability. And look at Aaliyah Butler. She just decides to make a move with about 60 meters to go and flies by Rosie Effiong and leaves absolutely no doubt who the national champions are this year. Not only the 4x4, but the team.
Georgia wins the team title by 26 points over USC, who finished second, and Texas A&M finishing third, 4 points behind the Trojans. There are the final results on the women's 4x4. That is a collegiate leading time by Georgia. USC ended up third in that 4x400 relay. Georgia winning the women's team title for the first time, and boy, they did it in style. As I mentioned, 26-point victory over second place USC. There is Coach Carol Smith Gilbert. Came to Georgia about 4 years ago, I want to say now, from USC, and has really built a formidable women's program, culminating in that gigantic title. They won the conference. It's hard to do both, but they have incredible amount of depth, incredible amount of personnel. down there in Athens.
Well, and I was going to say, a number of her athletes here that she scored with are field event athletes, and they're seniors. And I said, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to replace those? She's like, I got field events standing by. Trust me, I'm going to reload with some more field events because she knows scoring in those field events make these championships just that much better. But there you see Coach Carroll, just such a fighter, formidable opponent to anybody here in the country.
And it's not just how strong she recruits, which she does very well. It's how strong she develops athletes too once they get to her program. When you look at just how incrementally and the leaps that her athletes have had under her coaching within her program, the staff that she's built there, just such a deep and complete track and field program.
Well, and a lot of people say they just, some people say it's all about the training. No, at Georgia they take a holistic approach. It's more than just the physical. It's nutritional, it's mental, it's mentorship. These young athletes really feel like there's a whole, it's more than just being a good physical athlete. She really cares about these athletes and student athletes individually, and people love to get coached by her.
Absolutely. I mean, she makes it clear there's a high standard, and you can see Connie Price-Smith there, the head coach of Ole Miss, congratulating Carol Smith-Gilbert. But it's a high standard that she sets, and they know the expectation that is there within her program.
Well, she won 2 titles when she was at USC. She started at Georgia in 2022, so this is her 4th track season at Georgia. And they just pulled off a monster win here at the NCAA championships. So let's take a look at the final team standings. These are official. Georgia wins it with 73 points, running away with it over the University of Southern California. Then Texas A&M ends up 3rd. Washington, the Huskies, up into 4th place. Well, it's been a great 4 days here. Great competition on both the men's and women's side. We got very lucky with the weather with no precipitation whatsoever. And now it's time to award the women's team trophy to Georgia and down to John Anderson.